Hey, welcome to the For Evansville podcast. This is actually a special episode where we're going to be diving into some Evansville culture. We got some really cool things going on, as you guys know. Fall Festival is coming up. But the For Evansville podcast, if you haven't listened before, it's really exploring what's going on in our city, who's some people that are really contributing to making this place even better, and how do we move from not just living in Evansville, but to being for Evansville. And today, I think it's really exciting because it's kind of a different conversation about how that has actually happened in our city's history.
And some of the revelations will shock you.
Yes. There are some shocking revelations coming.
Be prepared for that.
Truth.
Right. But I want to actually kick off this episode with a quote from one of my favorite shows, Parks and Recreation, which I think
based off of Evansville.
I'm pretty sure it's based off of Evansville. Some people say that it's Muncie or some other Indiana towns, but
they reference Muncie.
Let's
in the
just
show.
say there's no other city that does not get referenced, no other major city that's not referenced. So I'm pretty sure Evansville is Pawnee, Indiana. But in the show, Leslie Knope is talking about her favorite diner and the amazing waffles at the diner. And she says, and yes, every diner claims their waffles are the best waffles in the world. But somewhere in some small town, there really are the best waffles. So rich, so golden brown, and so delicious that anyone who tasted them would decide never to leave that town. Somewhere those waffles exist. Why can't it be here?
Oh, I love it.
As we dive into some Evansville myths, maybe, or claims about Evansville, or things that maybe we've all thought to be true about Evansville at some point.
These are our cultural beliefs, you're saying?
I just want to keep this quote in mind.
Everyone says that quote, but like places the fall festival in where she says waffles.
Yes.
Especially during Fall Festival week.
Why can't it be here?
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
What a great question.
And so
I'm already inspired.
Let's dive into the Fall Festival with our first myth, because I'm sure everybody in Evansville, if you've lived in Evansville for any amount of time, during the Fall Festival, you have heard someone say, yeah, Fall Festival, it's the second largest street festival in the U.S.
Fact.
Maybe in the world.
Fact.
Who knows?
Second to Mardi Gras.
But everybody's heard it. Nobody remembers where they first heard it, but most of us have heard it and probably said it.
Say, is it true though?
And our very own Adrian said, I'm going to get to the bottom of this. I'm going to find the truth.
Yes.
And so...
but you did a little bit more digging than me after originally.
Yeah. So where did you kind of find that this myth supposedly originated from?
Well, we traced it to an article, I think it was by the Courier and Press, an article saying that Paul Harvey, radio personality Paul Harvey, actually said that statement first. But then you looked into Paul Harvey.
That's legit, man.
So I was like, wow, that's awesome. And then I was like, I really want to find that audio clip for this podcast. Right. So I searched for probably more time than I should have responsibly spent looking for this
I think
clip.
We both
Please tell me it was a fruitful clip.
Well,
you found it.
I did not find it.
Oh,
and so now
part of the mystery.
Now I'm suspicious.
There's more lore about this.
Now I'm suspicious that this Paul Harvey story is just another myth.
We need to trace the source of who wrote the article.
Yes,
So where did they get that info?
Yeah, so I've reached out to the Courier and Press, the person who wrote the article, and I haven't heard back yet. But that was earlier this week, so hopefully,
maybe by the time this episode comes out,
so
look in the show notes.
We'll keep you posted. And if you are listening to this and you happen to know any information about this or any of the other juicy stories that we're going to talk about today, please let us know. Get in touch with us on social media and let us know what you know, because we're trying to get to the bottom of this still.
Oh, but we went on the journey to find out if it's actually true.
Correct.
Like, not just where it originated from, but if it's actually true.
And if you see us at the Fall Festival counting people, that's why.
That's why, because the answer is unknown still.
Right.
Unknown.
Yes, because they're saying there's really no way to count. Because they say that there can be up to 1 million people at the Fall Festival, but that's
over many days.
Over all the days.
Maybe repeat visitors.
It says if it's repeat visitors, it could be as little as 200,000.
Right. Okay, so.
Or as much as 750,000.
Here's my takeaway then. Why can't it be here?
Exactly.
So, yes, that makes sense. We can claim it if it can't be proved. Right. Is that the argument?
Yep.
Okay, but something we cannot claim.
Yep.
Sitting right here with us.
Sitting right here in front of us. The glaring truth behind Grippos is myth number 2.
Now, this is kind of this is super exciting. I'm glad to hear about this. So please enlighten me.
Okay, but first, we have to talk about just Grippos in Evansville.
Right.
It is a known.
And how big of a deal
it's a big deal here. And as we see by this box, I always hear you can't have a cookout without a box of Grippos. Mm-hmm. Also, we have multiple restaurants in town that have Grippos on their menu, not just as a side, but incorporated into their dishes.
Mm-hmm. Shout out to AZIP for the West
Cider. Yep. There was actually a couple years ago a beer brewed locally.
Yes.
That was a Grippos beer. And
of course there was.
Speaking of brewed locally.
Here we go.
White Swan. We're going to give them a shout out for this week. Miraculously coming out with a Grippos latte just in time for this podcast.
And we have all waited for this specific moment.
Yes. None of us have
tried it for the very first time. Very first try.
So here we go. A Grippos latte.
All right.
Here we go.
Cheers.
Yes, cheers. Wow, it's actually in that. You can say that's a Grippos latte. Like I would know.
It's like extremely subtle.
So subtle. But
I smell it,
delightful.
but I don't taste it.
I don't taste it.
It is allergy season, so maybe your taste buds aren't fully functioning, Jonathan.
We all have COVID.
Maybe.
This is where we find out.
Is it COVID?
I can't smell this or taste it. What?
No, I can totally taste it. And David, I would say you've done a great job because
it's like right on the top.
It
hits it right at the top.
Grippos to me are like a sweet barbecue chip that bites you on the back end.
Yeah,
which is why people like it. But it's why I'm like, I'd just rather stick with the sweet part up front.
Yeah.
But you should go get the Grippos latte. Why it's
it does have a tiny kick at the end. Like my mouth is tingling a little bit.
I think that's part of.
But it's good.
I think that's part of why Grippos are so addicting is because you eat it and it's sweet while you're eating it, but then like afterwards your mouth is hot, so you feel like you have to eat. You have to eat more.
It's kind of like when your mom has told you your whole life, like you can only have one little dessert, and you're like, but I want more. This is like the punishment on the back end for having more sweets.
Yeah.
Right? You're just like, oh, it's just a reminder. You shouldn't have that many.
This is why it's a revolutionary chip.
And also, I just realized
they have to sell them in a box.
On the advertisement of this box, you can buy your own gourmet barbecue spice.
That's right.
Yeah.
The Grippos Seasoning you can buy in the store. So Grippos is a big deal.
You can make your own Grippos anything, really.
Yes. And to name a few, there's, the Fall Festival list on the Munchie Map. You can get an ice cream sundae topped with Grippos.
Oh my goodness, are you joking?
You can get like a pork sandwich rubbed in Grippos. There's lots of things. So, anyways,
that's exciting.
The truth you don't want to hear today is that it is not Evansville.
It's not actually from Evansville.
Or
so where
even
are Grippos?
Indiana.
No.
So where, Adrian, help us understand, where are Grippos from? And maybe more importantly, why have Grippos become such an Evansville icon and something that we're so obsessed with?
It was really genuine curiosity. I just Googled it, Grippos in Evansville. And the first thing that popped up was Wikipedia. And it said, although no known connection to the town of Evansville, Indiana, that it has become a widely loved and part of their culture.
Yeah.
And
this is just on the listing of what Grippos is on Wikipedia. There's a shout out to Evansville.
There's a shout out to Evansville. I was like, well, okay, we're going to claim it then.
Yeah.
If we get a Wikipedia shout out, that's fine.
So widely loved? Is that what you said?
It's like, I don't know. It's something crazy. It's highly loved.
But it does say, although there is no known connection.
Yes, there is. There has to be a connection because it's here.
Right.
So it's a Cincinnati-based company. It's actually the official chip of the Cincinnati Reds baseball team.
Oh, wow. There you go.
Which also isn't big here.
This is really going to disappoint all of the Cardinals fans
right.
in Evansville.
How can they marry these two things?
Yeah.
But back in the late 70s, there was a man by the name of Alan Proctor, and he owned a chip business here. And he just decided that chips and like bagged things, canned things were the future. Like everything would come out of a bag or a can.
Wow.
So he went to Cincinnati and asked, because he needed specifically a barbecue chip. So he went to Cincinnati and asked if he could be a distributor of Grippos.
So this guy was a visionary, is what you're saying.
Yes. Yeah. This is all from another Evansville Courier Press article. They do the dirty work for us, and we just report back to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so you can easily Google Evansville Courier Press Grippos, and you can read this article for yourself. But just to make the whole article shorter, he was a visionary. He brought distribution, and still today, his company, he has since passed away, but his company is still the single distributor of Grippos in town. But he really pushed them because that was his business, and that's what he loved. So, fun fact.
And he didn't just do this as like a business thing. He personally advocated for these chips.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. Fun fact is he actually lived across the street from me growing up. And at Halloween, when I read the article, I was like, that is why.
This is your neighbor?
Yes, he was known for passing out bags of Grippos instead of Halloween candy.
I feel like you are so honoring your neighbor right now.
I am.
Yeah. Way to go.
His wife still lives there in that house. So, so I didn't know.
He was true
Little
to
did I
form.
know when I was trick-or-treating at his house, I'd be talking about him on a podcast years later. But yeah, I thought that was really interesting. But so it kind of comes down to like one man is solely responsible for bringing Grippos to Evansville, which is like a culture changer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is.
I hope that, I know you said that he has passed away. I hope that he lived to see the legacy that he created in Evansville and saw how, iconic Grippos has become in Evansville's culture. Because it's a really big deal.
It's huge.
If you ask, if somebody came in from out of town and they said, what's like really big here? Like what comes to mind? Grippos would probably be one of the things on that list.
It's definitely one of the things you bring to somebody who's new to maybe somebody showed up at your church for the first time and they're just first time in Evansville. You're like, well, I've got to get them some Grippos.
Care package, Grippos and ski.
That's going to be in there.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Funny story. My uncle from out of town visited one time, and my dad was like, "Oh, you have to try these chips. Like they're only
available in Evansville.
They're only available in our
this is
region."
what we've contributed to the world."
Really talked him up. And my uncle tried them and was like, "Oh wow, this is like the best barbecue chip I've ever had in my life." And so my dad started, every time we would go visit them or they would visit us, he would bring like 3 to 6 boxes of Grippos and just leave them with him. And this went on for like a few years until finally my uncle was like, listen, I don't actually like these. He was like, you were just so excited about them. I really didn't want to disappoint you, but please don't send me these anymore.
Oh, that's hilarious.
But yeah, my dad was so proud of Grippos and loved the fact that my uncle loved them when he was here, that it became like a regular, piece of our culture that we were sharing until we found out that it
in the article, his wife said that parents would come to their distribution center and ask them if they could be on a mailing list to send their kids like once a month, send their kids a box of Grippos to college nice. Like where if they lived overseas or something like that.
Subscription.
So yeah, it was like the early subscription days.
Oh wow, that's so cool.
That's
so
hilarious.
People are obsessed apparently.
I want to know, does it say on the box that this is made in Cincinnati? Or do they leave it off in their shipments to Evansville specifically?
Right. There's not a lot of information on the box.
No,
you have to check the bottom. Let's check the bottom.
Yeah, let's see here. Oh, yep.
It's right hidden, there it is.
Hidden right there on the bottom.
Yep.
Grippo potato
Show the camera.
chip
Look at that.
Oh my gosh, don't spill the chips.
Yeah, I'm going to try not to spill these.
Also, it's kind of cool that they come in a box. You can't really get a lot of potato chips in a box.
We can't talk about them without saying that you have to get the ones on the bottom that have
the extra extra
there's
spicy.
a visible difference if you look and dig in there.
I feel like a Grippos novice right now, but I've just been informed.
I feel like
you have to dig to the bottom with
Ross,
where
you're
the darkest.
probably a top Grippos kind of guy because you don't like the
That's probably
spiciness,
true. I'll stick to the top.
So
oh yeah,
he's
okay.
So
I'll see Grippos.
That's a good
Grippos
personality.
Are for everyone.
yeah. Are you top Grippos or a bottom Grippos kind of person?
It's just want a little bit, or you do it really intense. Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, that's part of the genius of it, though, is you eat the first one. In most chips, the more you eat, you kind of get numb to the flavor. But with Grippos, the deeper you get in the box, there's more flavor. So
more flavor.
It's
so we want to know from you guys. Please let us know if you are a top of the box or bottom of the box Grippos eater.
Yes. Yeah,
it's great.
But yeah, so part of the reason that we wanted to do an episode on Grippos, though, is not just to celebrate this icon of Evansville's culture and kind of share it on our podcast, but also we were just kind of impressed by this story we uncovered of this guy Alan, right? Alan Proctor. Mm-hmm. And the impact that he had on Evansville, probably unintentionally in some ways, unknowingly, that his one decision of like, I'm going to bring this potato chip to Evansville became such a big part of Evansville's culture. And it kind of feels like that's something that's unique about Evansville, is that you have the ability to have that kind of influence here.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, we've heard guests talk about it many times on our episodes, but you can be a really great consumer in any city. Mm-hmm. But I think it's kind of special cities where you can really be a contributor, where everybody has the opportunity to do that. And I think both the things we talked about, the Fall Festival and Grippos, and then the collision of them that happens, at the actual week, they're just great examples of people saying, I can bring something good, something great and unique and fun to my own city. It's you're making culture, and that's how you change culture, is to add to it,
right?
And I think it's just really inspiring. Found maybe it was a business decision only. He was like, I need a barbecue chip, but it ended up going and being a part of our culture so much that we can have a latte with a chip flavor, and it's only available, I'm sure, right here in Evansville.
Yeah, exactly.
And that is also an example of somebody taking someone else's cultural artifact and adding to it and making a new thing. Because
I'm sure you cannot get a latte like this in Cincinnati.
Yeah, there's no David Rudabaugh in Cincinnati, right? He's dreaming up all kinds of stuff. So I think it's just a really cool example and picture of one person can decide to do something and contribute to the good of their city in some significant way. And obviously there's, the negative of that too. I mean, people could make bad culture, but that's one of the things we want to do on this podcast is, man, here's some people that are really doing some awesome things. And so this was a little bit more tangible. It's something we all could participate in. We're looking forward to the Fall Festival and supporting nonprofits and eating fried whatevers.
Right.
But man, now we know a little bit more history, and maybe the next time you eat Grippos, you can think, this was just one guy who had a dream and a vision that Evansville needed something added to it to be an even better city.
Yeah. And I think people kind of recognize that about Evansville's culture, because I see more and more people kind of proactively bringing things to our city. I think of the Front Porch Fest that happens in your neighborhood.
One of my favorite nights of the year.
That was basically like somebody heard about this happening in another city, and I think they happen kind of all over now. It's an idea that's really spread. But somebody was like, we could do that in Evansville. And when you think about it, like, it's not that hard to put an event like that together. No. You just say, hey, here's the idea. Let's get some bands together. Let's get some people to volunteer their porches. And they just make it happen.
40 bands.
Yeah.
This past Labor Day weekend.
Yeah. And I think that now there's at least one other neighborhood in Evansville that is doing a similar event, because they've said, wow, that is really cool. We could do that in our neighborhood as well. And
that's amazing.
I love that. I love that people are recognizing that about Evansville and really owning it, because oftentimes people have kind of this perception of Evansville of like, oh, well, there's nothing like really special about Evansville. And they look at all these other places and they're like, I wish that we were like this city or that city.
Yeah.
And really, like, one of the things that is special about Evansville is that if you have something like that in mind, that you're like, I wish that this were a reality in Evansville, you can probably make it a reality.
That's exactly right.
And if you can't do it by yourself, because not every, you know, there are, like, I couldn't go out tomorrow and start the fall festival, you know, especially because I'd be competing with the actual fall festival and I'd probably be run out of town. But if you have an idea like that and you get other people together with you, I think that's maybe kind of the first step in, like, if you have a vision for something that you want to bring to our city, like, find other people who are passionate about the same thing and want to contribute in the same way.
Yeah. And that's a huge part of what we do at Evansville. We bring people together to solve our city's most pressing needs. And so a huge part of that is like, we all have something to contribute. We all are contributing, whether intentionally or not, like Alan, maybe not intentionally contributing to the entire culture of Evansville, but he did. And he was a good businessman. He did his job very well, and he maybe unintentionally changed the culture. But it's all about that, like you said, working together. And in that way, we can't just like bring cool things, but we can also work on the problems that we do have to make this city a better place.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, you know, it's important for us to say, you know, we have a vision for what we hope our city can be. And we think as we add culture, as we encourage people to contribute in whatever those visions they have, you know, we hope that it creates a place that's, you know, where every person experiences love and gives love, where every person prioritizes the holistic well-being of all people, and where everyone has work that provides community value and individual purpose. We kind of think if those three things are happening, people are experiencing love, there's justice, there's this meaningfulness in work, this is the kind of city everybody wants to live in.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, you know, we want to encourage you guys to dream big. Imagine what kind of city we can be. And we're going to start talking more like that in the future. Like, let's dream about what kind of city we can be and how we can create it together. And I just want to also just a shout out to the creative class, as Richard Florida, he's a city thinker, talks about the rise of the creative class is really what helps cities create these kinds of things. And sometimes that creative class, when you hear those words, to me, I just think of like musicians and artists.
Right.
Well, Alan Proctor was not an artist per se.
Sure.
But he was creative and he had a vision and he ran with it. And I think that's what's pretty exciting about living in a city like Evansville. You know, we've got a lot of opportunity. People are 2 degrees of separation away. You can find the people you need to bring your idea to life. It's just really cool that we're sitting here with this guy's vision to sell potato chips, and now we're drinking it. It's hilarious. So
absolutely.
Cool.
So if you know anything else about Grippos and you can help us uncover more of the mystery behind Grippos or the Fall Festival, especially the Fall Festival, I really want to get to the bottom of this Paul Harvey thing. Yes. If there's any like Paul Harvey historians or biographers out there who can help us uncover this and maybe get to the bottom of it, we would love to hear from you. So reach out to us on social media at 4Evansville, or shoot us an email at info@4Evansville, and let us know also if you're a top of the box Grippos or bottom of the box Grippos person, and what are things that you want to see in Evansville that you're passionate about, that you want to bring to the city. We'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, and if you don't have any ideas, maybe you think I'm kind of stuck in what I care about or what change I think I can make. Our website is kind of built for that, to kind of help you walk through those things, think through those things, resources. So we'd love for you to check that out, 4evansville.org.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks for listening.
And check out the Fall Festival.
Yeah.